Dave,
Oh,
amazing, bro.
so so good to see you, and I'm so looking forward to just catching up with you. And I am grateful that we've agreed to record this because I think this is going to be fun for people to watch. Two old friends reconnecting from such different places in our lives compared to where we were at when we first connected and where we were last at the last time we sort of checked in with each other. Like, you've been
Yeah.
on a journey and I've been on a journey, and like there's a lot of ground to cover, and I think it would be useful for anybody watching to at least have a little bit of context about how we met, how our relationship started, and why we've stayed in touch, even though it's been sort of only periodically. Do you want to say some things about like kind of how we got connected in the
Sure.
beginning?
Our origin story. I mean,
Yeah,
I think it was originally from laughter yoga. We
yeah,
met in Kathleen's yoga, and I think you either had just gotten certified or you were about to, and then I ended up getting certified. And then you ended up leaving town, and I was a hypnotherapist, and you were a hypnotherapist, and you were running a whole office. And I always thought that step into the business sphere was so overwhelming. And how do you organize and get systems set up and fictitious business names? And you were like, bro, I'm leaving. I want you to take over my office. And I was like, you're like, I'll guide you through it. And I remember telling my partner at the time, like, should I do this? And she's like, I think you should just do it. And I'm like, all right, let's just go for it. And I was doing the laughter yoga a few times a week, plus school, plus a job, plus like running this business. And it ended up just being exactly what I think I needed at the time.
yeah.
So it
And
was
this
cool.
was all like the story you just shared was from about what, 2012 to 2014, so about like 8 to
I
10
would
years
say
ago.
that's about right.
Yeah,
Yeah, I would say
yeah.
12 to 15, 12 to, you said 16, 15, something like
Well,
that.
I moved from Arcata down to San Diego in 2014,
Oh
and
my
and
gosh.
I was only there for like 8 or 9 months or something, and then I moved to Atlanta like for family stuff. I didn't know I was moving there when I first went there. I thought I was only going to be there for like a month, but it turned into over 2 years, and then
Wow.
and
And
then
I'm in San Diego right now, which is wild.
that that is, yeah, wow.
Don't tell me you were in OB.
Uh, I was not, but I suspect we will find some synchronicities as this conversation
We
unfolds.
always do.
Yeah, yeah, they're
Uh,
all around us. We just don't always notice them. So,
mm,
um, yeah, so I was in Atlanta for about 2 years, from late 2014 until like the first week of 2017. And in that time, my exploration of laughter kind of expanded and deepened. And it was still about laughter yoga at that time for me, but it also began to sort of spill over past the parameters, if you will, like the tradition, the culture, the techniques of laughter yoga. Like, it really became more than that, you know. I started writing books about laughter, and I started hosting um, the Laugh of the Day video series for the Daily Laughers channel and Facebook group that ran for almost 3.5 years, and
wow.
it took me around the world. You know, it that combined with creating laughnosis, you know, how laughter and hypnosis have these parallels, that ended up taking me around the world. So I traveled for 6 months, and then I lived in Vietnam for almost 2 years. And I know we had contact a couple of times throughout there. And you appeared in, do you remember, was it two or three of the videos that I made, those daily videos? You definitely were in at least
I
two.
think three, because I think I joined someone else on one too.
Yeah, sometimes they were one to one, sometimes they were like a group of people.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah,
that was so impressive.
that kind of accounts for some of the time. And you traveled a lot during that period too. And so I didn't
Yeah.
always know what was up with you. I mean, we just didn't stay in steady contact but we would like periodically reconnect and laugh, and there was just this like real strong bond.
Yeah. Always. I always felt really strong bond with you.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, I have such fond memories of other people who were around in our laughter community when we were first getting started, you know, other people who I've lost touch with, but you know, Kathleen, you know, she'll always have a special place in my heart. She was our teacher. And Amanda, you remember Amanda? She became a laughter yoga leader at the same time as me, and also she also went on to become a hypnotherapist, and she still laughs with me today. You know, the daily laughter that I'm involved with, it's not laughter yoga anymore at all. It's like I'm very separated from that now. But
you're laughing daily though.
But I am, yeah. I'm still laughing every day with people all around the world. Yeah.
So
and
good, bro.
and you know, I'm thrilled that you know, Amanda, who, you know, kind of came into my orbit in the same way and around the same time as you, like, you know, she's still you know, very active and prominent in my laughter exploration and experience. So yeah, it just makes a lot of sense to reconnect with you, and I want to you know, hear about the journey you've been on, and how you've been just, yeah, what you're doing with music now. I mean, you don't have to jump right to that. You can you know, get me there over time.
Try
Like,
to segue.
yeah, eventually, like I guess just eventually,
yeah.
I know that's where we're gonna eventually get. I want to hear about, you know, how your music flow is, and I want to share with you about laughter channeling.
Ooh, that's exciting.
Yeah, so we'll get there, but yeah, like, fill in some more blanks here.
Okay, so I did the business in Arcata after you left for about a year and a half. I think I remember like my first year, like total after all the expenses, I was like negative $5,000. But then in the next 6 months, I like broke even and everyone had finished their packages. And it was kind of this decision of, am I going to go off to do this PhD or travel, or am I going to reinvest into like marketing and get more clients? Like, where am I going to go next? And I went to Okinawa for this 5-year PhD fellowship. And I talked to the head guy who had like 100 research papers on like the gap of neurons. And I was just like mesmerized. And he said I was his top choice, but I didn't get selected. They flew me all the way out there for 3 days of interviews and stuff. And he wasn't even on the interview committee. So it was really like this weird situation. But I remember making this prayer on the way back home, being like, hey, universe, if this isn't for me, like, don't let me have it. It's too good of an opportunity. But it's like, it felt like 5 years of like slavery, and I don't have any of the copyright when it's done. And it was just a lot of like lab science. And it was a OIST, Okinawa Institute of Science and Technology, and they hadn't even had graduates yet. It was brand new, like all the money in Japan's going to this like new tech school. But it was a no. And I remember being with my partner at the time, and we were like, you know what? Let's just go for it. And I remember being kind of nervous, like, what do I do when we come back? We don't have any money. I spend everything. And we're like, we'll just figure it out. And oh, if you want to, maybe a little bit. We'll segue into you for the story. This is my wife here. I guess pop your head in now.
Your wife? Really? You guys are married?
Yes.
Holy shit! Hi. Hi. I didn't know you got married.
I've heard a lot about you. Hi, nice to meet you.
Hi. I've not heard anything about you yet.
Yeah, we've been a little sneaky.
That's why I moved to San Diego.
Yeah.
We've been long distance for 16 months, and we just decided to finally merge together.
Yeah.
And
we got married in Vegas.
We did a friend's wedding.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I didn't get your name.
Hi, Taylor. I'm Taylor.
Taylor, it's so great to meet you. Wow.
Nice to meet you too. I'll let you get to
All right, so that'll be the first bombshell of this video. You know, if you're surprised or I'm surprised, and the audience for this video is definitely going to be surprised. Oh, I love it.
I'll tell you what, I'm surprised. Bye, little pixie.
So when was the wedding?
Yeah,
when did you get married?
We got married in July. We were doing like an anniversary, and we were watching the reruns of Friends. I've always been like obsessed with Friends, and it was like her first time watching them all, and so we were like long distance, like ready, set, go, and we'd watch them at the same time and laugh together, and or we'd like, you know, when we were together, we just need like a day to just like lay around. We watch Friends, and it was interesting, all the synchronicities as the show was going on for what was ever happened like in our lives. Like there was this day where we were staying at an Airbnb right next to a bar that said Cheers. And I was like, oh my God, is that like the bar from the TV show? And she's like, what? And I'm like, you know, where everybody knows your name. And that night we watched an episode of Friends where Joey's like in London and he sees Cheers come on the TV and it said literally the same phrase, just that. And I was like, oh my God. Like it was just like, and so we were going to Vegas and I was like, wouldn't it be fun if we went to the little white chapel where Ross and Rachel get wasted and go and get married, and we take some fun pictures and send them to my sister who also loves Friends. And then we're like, oh, well, we could do a ceremony for like $75. And it just like one thing came the next, and we're like, we should just go for it. And so we got like ring shopping on Thursday. On Friday, we did like a bachelorette, like sexy Vegas show. On Saturday, we like woke up in the morning, like she went to the bathroom and got ready. I went into like the, you know, I'm in the hotel getting ready, and it was like 1, 2, 3, ah! So we painted our faces like they did in the show and took a bunch of shots and like went and did this really cute, beautiful ceremony. And then I took her to the Stratosphere for dinner. And the next day we did a magic show, and it was just like this beautiful, like, it was amazing. And each step just felt just more right and more true and more beautiful. Like it's not on the traditional hand. And she's like, let's just not do things traditional. Let's do it our own way. And I'm just like, I love that. And we find out in Russia, they do it on the right hand because that's your strong hand. And you want to keep like your commitments on the strong side of it. And I was like, this is so, it's just all the synchronicities, man. I'm still like just being blown away by life.
And were you able to have any friends or family there?
No, we just had us and the photographer. So we got a lot of really funny photos because we were doing like this funny Vegas thing. So I was in like assless chaps that were leather, and we got some funny photos. And I have, you know, my name and then the whiskers, and she's got a mustache and beard, and it was just so true to the episode. And I just couldn't believe that I found someone that was willing to do that with me, and not only willing, but like just had as much fun as I did, and just really like leaned into it. And we just ended up having a really good time. And then so I had to propose, right? So then it was like a few months later, I did this great little proposal for her, and I was like, everything's backwards now. Right? Now we're moving in together. We're gonna go traveling for a while.
Wow. And you seem very happy. I mean,
oh, thank you. Yeah, she lights me up. It's really cool. It's really cool. We met at a festival called One Love.
Nice. Where was that?
Arizona. So I was on like a vision quest because I had changed my name to Cole when I turned 33. Is like the
Let's hear that story. Yeah.
Resurrection. Yep. KOL is the king of love. And I actually had this symbol 8 years ago when I was in Bali, and I saw the Balinese Om, which kind of looked like a heart with a crown on it and little squiggly lines, which to me were like headphones, and then like a little tail, which reminded me of like the genie with his little microphone on his tail. And I just saw this like image, and this sign came out like Cole, like this identity kind of thing. And I kind of put it away for, you know, about 8 years, and I was back in Bali, and I remember seeing it, and it all just came flashing back. And after I did Date with Destiny, when I came back from travels, because I was traveling when you were, 2019 was the last in-person Date with Destiny, and I remember being there. And afterwards, it just didn't feel like I introduced myself as Kyle, but it just didn't fit anymore. And I remember one party, I just was like, I'm Cole. And I tried it out, and I was just like, oh my God, it just felt right. Like it resonated almost like the journey I was at. Like Kyle was who I was. Cole is like the vibration of who I am. And I was turning 33 6 months later. And I thought, I'll just take this new identity as like a shift in perspective. Instead of Kyle trying to like build significance and do all this stuff and like, you know, try to like suck the juice out of life. I'll be KOL and I'll just be like more present for like availability to help others and where can I serve and like I've done a lot. I feel complete with like my life. Like I was pretty suicidal there for a little while too. And so it was like really this transition into more of like a reason to live is to serve. And I could just kind of float on that. Like, and if I'm helping people, then I feel fulfilled. So then like I have a good life and it's worth, you know, going through all the craziness of the day-to-day rigmarole of life in an act of service. And I thought, this is good. So that's KOL is like, it's not like I'm better or more regal. It's more like more responsible. King of love. It's like more responsible to emanate love, to connect with love, to let things go through love, to not take things personal because we're all just written on the fabric of love anyway, you know? I feel like love is like the needle that's like itched the fabric of the universe.
Wow. That's such an amazing story that it's like a reclamation of your power. That's how I felt it, right? That power was within you all along.
I like that.
And you began to see it more clearly. It was always there, but you began to see it more clearly, and then you reclaimed it. And then you've nurtured it, and you've grown as KOL.
Yeah, it ended up working out pretty well. It just ended up kind of, and that's why, you know, I was turning 34, but I felt like I hadn't grown enough in 33. So I went on this vision quest before my birthday, and I connected with someone who I hadn't talked to in over a decade, and we reconnected, and she was doing this festival, and it's been like, you know, COVID, and I'm like, oh my God, there's a festival, and the bus needed to be driven. So I drove, when we went to Date with Destiny, I bought a bus, and I didn't know what to do with it because the relationship dematerialized on the way to Date with Destiny. And so I'm like, got this big old bus for myself, and I'm like, oh man. And I ended up going up to Humboldt because the diesel froze, and the ski job I had, I couldn't even make my ski job because it froze during another vision quest on New Year's. So I was like, I got to go back up to Humboldt, and I had this gym job, and then COVID hit, and I thought, oh my God, how perfect that I have this bus, because like I didn't have to pay for rent, I didn't have bills, I just like found someone's land and exchanged work for like, you know, a little bit of electricity and food, and we just ended up, you know, but it ended up feeling like, you know, it was all just in perfect alignment.
Yeah.
Because this bus had really saved me for like the last few years of trying to figure out what to do and how to fit and where to go and who to be and what do I do with this life. And, you know, just kind of recovering from a bunch of traveling and kind of getting lost and then trying to rebuild the pieces of what do I want to create. And this whole like KOL was more like, how do I get out of the way so what needs to be created can be created through me, instead of like forcing creation of what I want on everybody else.
That's been so much my experience too. And it's laughter that's helped me to embody that understanding of allowing and of surrender is a big word for me. Like, you know, we used to do laughter yoga, but I don't do laughter anymore. For me, the experience is about surrendering to being laughed. The infinite energy of the universe laughs me. And it's doing it all the time, right? Like the infinite energy of the universe is breathing us most of the time. It's beating our hearts, right? It's broadcasting an infinite stream of thoughts. And we just tune in and notice certain ones, but there's always an infinite number of thoughts available. We can never notice them all, right? And what you do notice, what you focus on, then that creates your perception, it creates your feelings, it creates your reality. Like we are constantly creating our reality in each new now, based on whatever we're tuning into from that infinite broadcast of thought. That's it. Like I've seen all of that through laughter. But what is laughter? Laughter is the sound of joyful breathing. It's just breath and sound. Same as speaking, only without words or thinking. That infinite energy of the universe, your infinite laughter supply is always available. That's it. Like, you just don't always see it. You don't always feel like there's a reason to laugh, or you don't always realize that you could choose to laugh. You can always choose to laugh, right? Because the universe will laugh you if you surrender. This has been my experience every day for years. And it's just getting more and more profound all the time. So that's skipped over a lot of things, but very much about like the now for me. This is what my experience has been like, laughing every day in what's now called the laughter gym. So there's no more laughter exercises. There's no techniques. There's no, of course, jokes or comedy or humor. Like, we just laugh for 15 minutes. And then we have this brief pause. And of course, you know, as I understand it, the laughter has hypnotized us all. It's laughnosis, right? We're just having an inward focus of our attention getting narrowed onto the experience of the laughter. So we just be with that for a moment. Often, most days, some words will show up. So in that moment, my mouth is not my mouth anymore. It's the word hole. There's some words that the universe is delivering through me, just as it was delivering the laughter through me. And whatever shows up, like, I'm not aware of it beforehand. It's coming from before thought. And so this is laughter channeling. And it's just been like over and over and over, all of these like really profound insights that I've turned into dozens and dozens of memes, you know, like, laughter is the sound of joyful breathing. Your infinite laughter supply is always available. Laughter shines your inner light on gifts you've always had but don't always see. Sit with that one. Sit with that for a moment. So everybody in the laughter gym has just been lighting up from the inside all the gifts that they were born with, that they just aren't always aware of. And whatever words come through in that brief moment of reflection, that becomes then kind of a launching point for us to have a group discussion. And it's always about, what did you notice? What did you notice that's new and different in your experience of laughing? And then, you know, it'll sort of be like a thread that ties through whatever the prompt was for that day. So we explore some amazing things, and we're just learning about ourselves and life and the nature of thought and pronoia. Is that still on your radar, pronoia?
Yeah.
It's huge. It's been huge for me for years. I'm curious to know, you know, how that's been sort of reverberating in your life.
How
Pronoia, specifically pronoia. Yeah, I want to know how you're seeing pronoia. Like, what does it look like to you these days? Are you aware of the blessings that show up in your life? Because that's how the universe works. And there's always blessings, just like there's always synchronicities, just like there's always laughter. Like, the pronoia evidence, the evidence of the universal conspiracy of blessings, like, that shit's always there, but you can't always notice it. So I want to know, what are you noticing? Like, what blessings are just there and you've noticed? You know, maybe it seems like synchronicity, maybe it's pleasure, maybe it could be anything. It's like what you're saying about service. You know, like when you serve someone, when you help them recognize evidence of this universal conspiracy of blessings called pronoia, you see it more clearly for yourself. That's one of the the blessings of service. It's like you see the magic of the universe more clearly for yourself. So I'm curious to know if this is bringing some examples to mind for you.
Yeah, I think you know, this whole concept really, like the universe working for you instead of against you, was the first thing somebody said to me when I was going into Date with Destiny. And I was like, I just gotten out of my relationship. I just bought this bus. It was this huge hassle. I spent a ton of money on gas. I did all this stuff to get to this workshop. My dad had just said this thing to me that like really felt like daggers. And I was just sitting there like so depressed. Like, this is my last hope, guys. Like, this better be so. And when someone said the universe was working for you, not against you in that moment, it was like the last thing I could believe. But by the time, you know, day 3, day 4, day 5 came, I was like, this is exactly what's happening. Like, if I didn't have those issues with my dad, I wouldn't strive to be the person that I was today. Or if I didn't have the struggle of depression, I wouldn't be able to relate to people so well today. Or if I didn't have, you know, the experiences of needing to run away, I wouldn't have traveled so much. You know, like if I would have had more of a safe, nurturing, you know, a little nook, I might have just stayed in that little nurtured nook. And so, you know, even things with me and Taylor, if like there's like moments where we see each other and like something will happen, and instead of being like, I just don't let the negative stuff affect me as much, because it's almost like, I know there's this old joke or something, or saying, or like a story from like the Zen master where like this guy had this kid and something happens and he goes like, oh well, we'll see, and it's like something positive, like, oh, we lost all of our sheep or something, and then he's like, well, we'll see if that's bad, and then it comes back like all the sheep came back and there was 12 extra, and it's like, oh, it was a good thing, and it kept being like kind of like that. So like I've just been more aware of the bigger picture. It's almost like I see myself in this problem, and I see myself contracting, and I see myself getting like into it, and then I also have this almost like helping me to step into the witness for a minute and be like, okay, but remember that there's probably some reason that this is going to be more in alignment. Like, I was driving down here, is a great example. I was driving down here, and on the way, I was like about to hit LA, and I've been driving for like, it was like a 16-hour day. And I get to LA and there's an hour of traffic, and I'm like, I'm just gonna pull over and like stop somewhere, have a drink, maybe get a quick snack, and like, instead of sitting in traffic for 2 hours, why don't I have a snack for an hour and then drive there for an hour to be the same amount of time? And I pull over in LA, and my window all of a sudden gets stuck down and I can't pull it up. I'm in like downtown LA. It's like probably the worst place in California for sure to like not have your window go up. Everything I own that's of value is in my car, and my car's like check engine light comes on, and all this stuff just started happening wacky. And I'm like, gosh, you know, I wanted to get like really frustrated, but I also knew this kind of thing, you know, this like, okay, so how is this going to help? And then I ended up having this like realization that, you know, I'm about to go travel for a while. What if I just sold the car? And if I sold the car, I could just make it really simple and easy. Then I don't have to worry about where to put it or storing it or paying for it. I could just sell it, and then I'll be back in San Diego in a few months, and I could always buy another one. Like cars, I feel like used cars are pretty easy to come by for, you know. And so I thought, you know, this is just a kind of a blessing, because it's just giving me that final push to be like, look, I should just stop being attached to this car. I'm not going to spend $300 or $400 getting the window fixed. I could just sell it for a few $100s less, and then just be done and not have to have any stress. Same thing with like some of these businesses that I was working with, like with the nutrients, or there was this gold company I was working with, and just little like technicalities happened, and I started losing things. Instead of getting like really upset about it, it's like, whoa, one less thing I don't have to think about in my life anymore. And it kind of just, it's just helpful, man. It's just, there's so much information going in, and inundated with so many opportunities and so many classes and so much stuff. And I'm trying to just like, okay, let me try to just take the road, and some things are just finding the peaceful way of just being like, okay, well, I guess this is resistance, so I'll go, you know, what are you telling me? Okay, let's follow that.
Love it.
And trying to hear that, because I really wanted just like an external source to be like, do this, don't do that. Like, I always wish I could just get a report card from God or something and be like, all right, here's the areas where you're in alignment, here's the areas that could use some work. and definitely stop doing this and do a lot more of that. Like, cool, thanks, dude. Like, just tell me what to do. Like, there were so many moments where I'd just be frustrated. Like, what do you want from me? What? Realize, like, you know, that kind of defeats the purpose of being a human and having to figure it out and not having those answers just like come, and more like learning how to really listen to intuition versus paranoia. Like, I always thought that was an interesting thing. Like, is this premonition or paranoia? Because they feel kind of the same to me. Because sometimes I'm like, don't go down that dark alley, and I'm like, I'm gonna do it anyway, and nothing happens. And like, you know, don't go down that dark alley. It's like, shit, why didn't I listen to myself? And so it's kind of fun to try to, you know, get the really subtle energies of those out, and really just not take life so seriously. Yeah. I've been doing a lot of stuff with Panache Desai. He has this book called You Are Enough. So we went and saw him live, and then I took his impact course, and his basically whole message is like, you don't need anything. You're already perfect. You can't miss anything that's meant for you. Like, you're a divine infinite being. Yeah, but this and this and this is happening. Yeah, but you're an infinite being. I know, but my ex-wife, but you're an infinite being. Yeah, but no, but my dad, you're an infinite being.
Yes. Yes. And that,
so I love the laughter. Yeah, like, get into that state, and then like inspiration or truth can go through you, because you're not in you're not in your conscious mind anymore. You're in the subconscious, superconscious, you know, ethereal goo of like the cocoon. I'm making this song about a butterfly. You're the ethereal goo with your imaginal selves, and so like when you're out of the way, then the universe can just speak through you.
That's it.
That's what my laughter used to say: changing the world one giggle at a time.
Oh my God. Yeah, I feel like my whole career for the last 5 years, 5 solid years, more, has been the blending of these 3 things. It's pronoia, laughter, and the nature of thought. So seeing how thought is creating our perception 100% of the time in real time, like, that's been so profound. And I know that the words can't teach anybody that. They can only find it in their own experience. But the beautiful thing is they can only ever find it in 100% of their experience. Like, that's what your experience always is. And part of the experience of being human is sometimes you see it and sometimes you don't, which is a way of summarizing what you just said. You're an infinite being. Yeah, but my dad, but you're an infinite being. Yeah, but my wife. Like, seeing it and not seeing it. We're all going back and forth, in and out of that all the time. And the deeper we understand this, the easier that is to navigate and surrender to and allow.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm sure that further back ago than 5 years, other people had tried to tell me that or teach me that in some way, shape, or form, and I didn't get it. I had to find it in my own experience. And I'm seeing it in my experience all the time now in laughing. You know, so I teach laughter, and laughter teaches me. It's a virtuous circle. And I surrender, and I'm grateful for being laughed. Like, these are declarations that are part of my being. Like, if I were to you know, declare to you who I am, it's not a set of mantras that I would speak to you, but it's a series of declarations that I've gotten absolute clarity about. And you know, pronoia and laughter and the nature of thought have all sort of guided me towards this way of recognizing what is the way of being that I want to be, and to kind of hold myself accountable for being the me I want to be as much as I can, knowing that, of course, there's going to be moments where I just don't see it, because we're all seeing it and not seeing it. And so Yeah, I mean, I've
Yeah,
created a lot of you could say content or material stuff. I've allowed what's shown up for me to get sort of translated into forms for other people to get introduced to or exposed to, so that they can look at their own experience and see it for themselves.
yeah, I think that's good. I say a lot of times, like, why can't we just remember stuff very well? Like, and I think that's the key, is like we have to forget to remember. Like, the thing is all this information is there, but it's like the human thing is to habituate. Otherwise, we'd feel our underwear on us all day, or we be so it's like we have to get settled to whatever's going on and then forget about all the stuff. And then it's like the journey of constantly remembering and reminding and
Yeah.
coming back to, and that cycle is like that's the humanness of us. Because if we took out that forgetfulness, we just would be, always in that state, and then we wouldn't be able to go on this, roller coaster ride in space time that we wanted to, forget everything and just like feel everything for the first time, and then have the highs and the lows. And you know what? I've never had this like specific flavor of suffering or joy or bliss, or you can't really have all the flavors if you don't go through the mud to get to the sky, or however it is. So I think that you're definitely hitting on awarenesses that I've been coming to figure out too, in different ways.
Yeah. And is this what is sort of inspiring or informing the lyrics that you're flowing?
This so it's interesting because when I was young, I started writing raps when I was kind of going into the military, and I even have a rap that I wrote the first verse in basic training, the second verse at my base, and the third verse in Iraq. And I remember I just like always thought I was going to run into this guy who was going to be a producer, and he was going to make the beats for my songs. And it kind of just like, I ended up making like a good album or so, and just didn't ever really think about it, and always thought these were really powerful songs. Man, I remember one day I tried to write a song and it didn't work. I woke up the next day and in like 20 minutes, the song wrote itself. And I was just like, getting out of the way, It's always about getting out of the way. Let it happen through you. And so I remember, so in this trip to One Love, this woman who I hadn't talked to in 12 years, I had actually jumped a plane to Costa Rica on the way there with some friends who they were going to do this yoga retreat. And I was like, well, I'll come for the 3 days before your retreat. It's only like a cheap flight. I'll check it out for a couple days. Why not? It's my birthday. I deserve it, And they wanted me to stay. And it was really a hard comeback. It was raining. The bus was late. I got the last seat. Like all these things were like wrong. I slept on the floor of the airport, like all this crazy stuff. And so by the time I got back, I remember driving my bus to the festival, and I said a prayer, like, please let something happen that makes me like feel like I shouldn't be, like, I'm glad I'm not in Costa Rica. And this is the festival where I met Taylor. And this is the festival where I met Kiyoshi. And Kiyoshi does these rap classes. He's an amazing rap coach. And I met Ruby Chase in this moment of following, because I wanted to dance on the dance floor some more. But I felt this pull, and I was like, look, I'm just listening. What's the pull telling me? And I went in, and she was doing this, I thought it was this like spiritual journey on this crystal, but it turned out to be someone's plastic lightsaber. It was hilarious. And everywhere I went, people told me about this place, Grass Valley. And I was like, where the heck is this place? Nevada City, I've never heard of it. And it turned out from Reno, it was a half-hour jolt on my way back from Arcata. So I was literally going to pass right through it. And this guy, Quantumist, it was just like this amazing music producer. I'm like, oh, now I know who my favorite music is. And there's Ruby Chase. And now I'm actually in this program with Ruby that I won the contest for. There's a lot of pieces, but like this festival, like I moved from Arcata down to Nevada City because I went there and I had such bad sciatica. It took me a week to finally get help. So I actually physically couldn't be in Arcata. So I missed my first yoga class. I actually created this yoga style called hi-fi yoga, HI, high intensity. So the high part is a blend of power yoga, HIIT training, and laughter yoga. Because I think we have too much seriousness in the realm of yoga, too much comparison. So I'm going to make it even harder, but I'm going to make it so that even your grandma can do it, because it's not about doing the exercise, it's about breathing and being present. So you could do this really strong machismo or be really soft, but if you fall, let's laugh about it. If we, like, you'll be able to start laughing, or, oh my God, the belly's in the air. The phi is floor integration. So it's really, you never leave the floor. It's pelvic floor, core. So it's like, kind of like more like Pilates mixed with yin yoga and hypnotherapy, like going on a journey into your inward self and seeing something and then having a revelation. And so I was creating this hi-fi yoga, and it was my first like real class in person. And I couldn't make it because of my sciatica, and it kind of led them to fire me, which was my only route left in Humboldt. So it's like all this magic. I even remember going to Nevada City and being like, how would I know if I'm supposed to move here? And I was coming through like ideas. And so it was like, oh, someone tells me to move to that I can live with them. And I thought that was so ridiculous. I just stopped even thinking about it. And because I thought it was going to be like 2 hours to get body work, an hour to get food, and then back on the road. But it took me a week, and I went to this festival, and this person asked me if I needed a place to crash for a while to get things sorted. They have land. I could bring my bus. And so I moved there for like the last year and a half. And I met Taylor on the way. And so luckily I was like an hour away from the airport instead of that 5-hour drive. And so I was able to do this like long distance relationship with her. And I started this music career because there was a lot of music producers there. And I eventually connected with one after I did some of Kyoshi's class. And I got this like identity KomicKOL, which is like, I don't know if you can still see it, but it's like a K backwards. So it's like 2 Ks. The first one's backwards and the second one's forwards.
Yeah.
So it's KomicKOL. And the K is twisted backwards because it's like this backwards tragedy. It's like this, if you look around, there's all this disaster and crazy stuff going on that nobody's like, a lot of people aren't even aware of or just now becoming aware of. But it's like we can laugh about it. It's still like this twisted tragedy, but it's like comical. We can laugh at like the drama of America, because one of the things I just heard Panache say is that like, if it wasn't dramatic, then we would be disengaged. If there wasn't these highs and lows, then we wouldn't be present for it, because we would just we'd be in that tiny little cradle cuddle like soft noodle. We wouldn't have to like battle the rocks and the ropes and the cold and the heat and all this stuff. And so I think that that's really good. Like I heard someone else was saying like, the up and down. Well, when your heartbeat goes flat, that's when you're dead. So it's like, I remember saying like, what happened to the set breaks? It feels like, the waves came in, then there was a period of settling, and then the waves would come in, and it's like, I feel like there's no set breaks anymore. The waves just keep coming, and now it's just having to like become more and more of a ninja to navigate those waves like real time, like you're saying. And so most of my lyrics, I would say they elucidate, I think is the word, or illuminate the kind of the twisted tragedy that's going on. And then I bring out like these different characters that kind of portray like the average like mind of swaying into like, this mindset or that mindset, or feeling really down or feeling really happy or feeling really like angry. And so I kind of go into the characters. And so usually the songs kind of start out with like talking about like the darkness that I'm feeling. And then maybe the second verse is like the darkness around me. And so then maybe the third verse is like, there's always light within me. And so it kind of goes from like, I'm not feeling good, but hey, it's not my fault, because look at the heck that's going around in the programming that I'm experiencing. Like, I'm not really responsible that we don't have a school that says, hey, welcome, human. This is what it's like to be a human. We have these emotions. We have these thoughts. This is how you think and get what you want, and think about emotional intelligence. And this is how you communicate effectively with other humans. This is how you scourge in the wild for food. This is how you live in the concrete world. No, we're like programmed and inundated since children to like obey and consume and work these 9-to-5s that doesn't really fit a lot of people these days. And so I think it's like, reminding people to just be light and have fun about it, and that you can go inward whenever you want and take that vacation of like truth and divinity and laughter and joy and bliss, because we get so caught up in what's going on out here, we forget that the real part of being here is to figure out what's happening in here. Yeah. And when we can hold both simultaneously, when we can remain in our presence, whatever chaos is going out here, that's not just our yoga, but that's also like that laughter bliss place that we're getting to. So then we're not in the way, so we can have, the divinity come through us, and we can respond to whatever's going on in an appropriate way that benefits us and the people around us, but like anytime I get into a really spiritual moment, I always hear God, and he goes, suffering is completely, optional. And I'm always like, I always think it's so funny, because I always resist the first part, but then he always comes in with the humor and says, but it's highly encouraged. And I love it because it's like God, goddess, whatever. It's channeling through me is like, yeah, like you actually are in control of your suffering, even if you don't want to believe it or feel it. And guess what? The fact that you don't want to believe it and feel it, and the fact that sometimes you might create a whole bunch of it that's unnecessary, that's all good too. Because
Yeah.
literally the universe is written on the fabric of love. And we're not here to be miserable and to have all this negativity and to just get nothing out of it. We're here to experience the full spectrum of reality, because ultimately we can't lose, we can't be created or destroyed. We can merely transform.
Yeah.
Which is what this butterfly song I'm writing right now is about. It's like the first stages. I'm like imagining a caterpillar, and I'm making all these alliterations and allegories to like a caterpillar and like society and being such a hard, like it's so hard to live, and every day I can just barely take a couple steps, and you know, I'm a slave to walkways, and everybody's entree, and I just want to get a break. And I make this joke where I just want to leave, like I want to leave, but also like I'm a caterpillar, I just want to leave, like to eat a leaf. And then, you know, the second part of the verse is like now I'm getting so frustrated, like I get in this drone career and I'm stuck in this, you know, cyclical thing, and all of a sudden I get to this place where I'm just like, I'm just gonna go inward and engulf myself. And then like the third one is like I'm coming out like totally like renew, and I have to just like spread my wings and fly. And when I believe in myself, there's no sky too high for these butterflies. And then it's just this really cool transformation, and then, you know, offering that for other people. And it's going to be probably the fastest. I like to do really like fast stuff, but not just speed, but really take the complexity and build it together. And I don't know how it happens. It really is kind of getting out of the way. And I hear these words and they just kind of fit together. It's probably like background in NLP, or even when I was a kid, I would write these essays and this word would come out of nowhere. And I'd be like, what does that even mean? And I'd look up the definition and it would be spot on. And I'd always be blown away. I remember having this all throughout my childhood. So now it's like so cool that it's just what I love doing is being able to do this stuff really fast, but almost like play on words with like really like substances, substitute, sustaining, sustenance. So substances, if you take a bunch of drugs, they substitute sustaining, maintaining health. And so it's like substitute, substances, substitute, sustaining, sustenance. And it's like, how fast can you say that with a whole verse of all this other stuff going? The villainous, venomous, nemesis, genesis, like all this stuff is just like coming together. And I have these like just really fun play on words, but they end up having this. I was trying to tell Taylor it last night, but I was telling her the meaning of all the words behind it, and then like taking these, and it was amazing how much like poetic, like justiceness or righteousness or beautiful like darkness and light all twisted together into this thing. And I didn't realize that that was even happening on such a conscious level. I just felt it and I'd go with it, and then I'd look up some like words, or I'd look up like I need to say wings, but wings isn't in my rhyming scheme. Like what's another word for wings? And then something like that would trigger something, or it'd be like this insight, like Cialdini fit my word scheme. It was his guy that does like social influence and persuasion. So be like, oh my God, Cialdini's perfect. And so just things like that would just like really come to me. And I think that's really my goal, is to give people awareness, to give people that like feeling, like when you are kind of dialed in with what's going on, you feel it and it resonates, and you get those truth bumps, and you're like, this guy is speaking my truth, like he's right on. And then giving them a gateway to be like, not only is this crap going on, but like it's all just an illusion that's like can be, you know, vacation within your own heart by just through the gift of love. You know, if we can love everything, then there's nothing that's bad in our life, whether it's good or bad. Like we could just love it all. And so it's been a journey, but I think that's really where the songs are coming from usually. And it's just, you know, the process. I had no idea how hard it was to make a song, bro. Like to get into the studio, to record it, to get it mixed, to get it mastered, to get it fixed. And then once you have a song, like I got songs and they're great, then what? Now you have to somehow go on a platform and get it out there. And then you got to tell people that the song exists, because turns out with a backwards K, you can't even search for it in Spotify. And my rap coach is like, you should just make it a frontwards K. And I'm like, that's not my identity, bro. It's a backwards K. Like, but of course, that's always been my life, is a little bit more complicated. It can't just be complicated. It's got to be this extra layer of complication that only Cole can experience. So.
Well, I'm sure that you're not the only one who does that. I'm certain I have
No.
examples of it as well. Yeah, I have like a whole bunch of things that I could say about my experience, and maybe I still will, but I have one question from what you were just sharing. In the creation of music, as you're experiencing it, is it always writing, or do you what is it called, free flow? Like do you improvise? Freestyle, yeah. Like do you ever improvise your raps?
So it's an interesting concept, because the steps that I need to take, I think, for the greater development, like more of the performance quality, more of the being able to jump into a cipher with somebody, more, it needs to be in that more freestyle arena. I feel like that's where my weaknesses are, because I never really had like a lot of friends or groups around me of people that had like-minded interests. Like when I was really young in high school, we used to freestyle a little bit. And so I know that that's like the practice that I want to get to. And sometimes when I freestyle, I'm just blown away, and I'll freestyle stuff to Taylor all the time, like just cute little love stuff or whatever. And I'll like write cards a lot. And I feel like when I'm writing cards, I'm trying to write as fast as I can. And it usually ends up rhyming. And when I do my songs, I'm writing them, but I go back. So like I'll hear the song and I'll be like, and I'll get to the part where I finish. And what I don't really get stuck. I think a lot of people get stuck of like, okay, now what to write next? And I don't do that. I just and then what sounds like the next sound that needs to come. And then I'll be like, oh, it needs to be substances. Okay, substances. And then what do? They substitute. Okay, where are we going? The substitute, sustaining, sustenance. Oh my God, substitute. And it like fits together, and it's like profound. And I'm like, that's what needs to happen. And then I write it and it's done. And so there is like this quality of freestyle as I'm writing it, but sometimes I have to move pieces around just to make it land better. But usually when I'm coming to the end of like the 18 bar or whatever, when it's supposed to hit at the end, the most profound words come at the end. So it somehow has a natural build to it as well, that I'm not trying to create. I'm just kind of like letting it happen. And then it usually just, it ends up hitting. And by having the faith in that, it makes it more common and more, there's not like a lot of anxiety or worry. Like it's more like just excitement to write something. And if it's not happening, like it's just like, okay, it's not this moment. Or what if I just like looked at like a different rhyme scheme, or just like what is the song telling me? What am I feeling? What is it? What do I want to express in this moment of emotion? And by doing it more that way, it feels like it's freestyling. It doesn't. It's. I mean, I'll give you an example. I heard this song by this guy Dax, Dax. He's a really cool rapper, and he just got on Spotify, I think, because I didn't see him before. And he's just really, I just like his style a lot. And he did this song called "The Grinch Goes Viral," and it was kind of this Christmassy song. And I by accident, the first song I released ever ended up being this Halloween time and this kind of dark, jokery song. And I got my wife to do all this face paint, and we did all these fun little, like we made a cool TikTok video, and then I had like a video and a song, and I released it. And so I have my main song, which is like my cry to humanity, which I feel like is the best of what I've created so far. And I got this woman that did the vocals that lived on my property. And so I'm really like excited for that song. But on the way there, this other song came out. And then I thought, okay, this Grinch Goes Viral. What if I did like a twisted Christmas song? And then I had my Halloween, my Christmas, and it really showed these like diverse kind of characters. And then my cry to humanity, like more of like a serious, like, rap style. And so I thought this will be fun. And so on Monday, I went through like, I had the concept on Monday. And then on Tuesday, I went through like 100 plus beats, and I never find the beat that's in my head, the beat that I want, but I always settle on a beat that I'm like, all right, whatever, I need to start writing. And that usually drains the life out of me. Finding the beats, the thing I hate the most. And I wish I had that like producer friend that's like, Lude, let's find a beat together. Let's just split everything 50-50. You make the rhymes, I'll make the beats, and we'll just do it together. Like I've always wanted that. And the producer I have found is kind of like that, but he's expensive, $1 a minute for him to make a beat. And like, we haven't done that process yet. I've come to him with the beats. So I found a beat I settled on. So that's Tuesday. Now Wednesday comes around, and I've had a really long, stressful day. And I'm like, I'm recording the vocals from this woman on Thursday for my main song. And I figured she could do it in half an hour. So I knew I had the hour block and maybe a couple extra hours if we wanted it. So I knew I had enough time to do another song. So Wednesday night at 8 p.m., I'm like, I have to do it. And I start writing it. and I'm starting to get into it. I'm doing some characters. I'm making basically a play on Santa and Catholicism, like the parallels of them, and kind of this like twisted Christmas song, you know. And so I'm getting into. I'm doing characters. I'm having fun. But I ended up starting at 8 p.m. And I remember by 1:11, I had written it and rehearsed it enough to where I could go into a studio and record it the next day. And then Thursday at 1, we recorded it. And so I don't think that I could do that if there wasn't this freestyle quality behind it. But when I try to do like a normal freestyle, I think it's usually more difficult for me just in general because I haven't practiced that particular style. It's better if I could do a slower beat, or if I could, you know, have a concept. If I have a concept, my freestyle is pretty good. But if I'm just like, you know, we're just sitting there and like there's a beat and I don't really connect to the beat and I'm just trying to freestyle, I feel like I end up saying a lot of the same things or smaller, easier rhymes. There's not as much complexity, but yeah, that's definitely the direction I need to move. I want to move more into, just for the development as an artist. So someone could be like, hey, spit 16 bars, and just give me a mic and I could spit 16 bars or something. Give me a hot 16, they say. And I've done like no performance, so that would be a big step.
Yeah, awesome. Well, that kind of spontaneous sharing is something that is really alive for me. And this phrase that I said, laughter channeling, that really only came to me in the last maybe 2 weeks, but there was another phrase that came before it that was, I don't know, maybe more like a brand, whereas laughter channeling is just the experience. It's just a phrase that describes the experience. But I've been starting to create from this experience for the past couple of months. And originally it was, I'm going to make 1-minute videos, exactly 1-minute videos. And every video is going to be based on one of these memes that I've created that's shown up as wisdom from the universe falling out the word hole, right? So I'm basically just going to riff for a minute, not in song, but just speaking. I'm going to just riff for a minute about your infinite laughter supply is always available, for example. And I could do that over and over and over again, and it would be different every single time. And I want to do it like a busker in the city center, on the street corner, just sit there laughing and laughing and laughing with a sign next to me that just explains a little bit about what I'm doing and has a QR code so people can come up and with their phone go to a web page that the QR code takes them to, where they see all these memes, and they can just pick one and ask me a question about it, and then boom, 60 seconds, I go just flowing whatever's showing up from this, you know, surrender to the universe wisdom about what was originally like a little snapshot of wisdom that I could capture in a meme form, you know, just a still image and words. But to bring it back into like multi-dimensional real life where I'm just in the moment sharing, I mean, it's what I imagine freestyle rapping is like, maybe, or some similarities anyway.
Yeah. I like that. That's a really cool concept.
Yeah. So I've got the webpage, I've got the YouTube channel, and I started recording videos like this, and it was under the name 60-second stand-up philosopher.
Awesome.
So I started doing that, and then just with, you know, that being one of many things going on, it seemed to lose a little bit of steam, but it was always like right there, like, I want to put more energy into this. And I started to realize that name is not the right name. And then finally I was like, oh, laughter channeling, that's what this is. So I'm sort of like revamping it right now. Like maybe by the time anybody sees this recording, it'll all be sort of live under this name, laughter channeling. but yeah, that's kind of out to the cutting edge, really, like no, like performing without a net, no rehearsal, no preparation, no planning. It's just in the moment, laughter until somebody says, give me 60 seconds on, well, this is maybe the last idea I want to introduce here. And I think we've been talking about an hour, so we should wrap up soon.
Oh,
okay. It went really fast, right?
Yeah, that was fast.
So the laughter gym is part of a program that I call the principles of laughter. And there's two principles of laughter. One is your infinite laughter supply is always available. Two, if it's true about laughter, it's true about life. So if you can find it in your experience of laughter, it's because it's already there. And if it's already there, it's already there all the time. So it's not just your infinite laughter supply that's always available. Your infinite spontaneity is always available. Your infinite creativity is always available. Your infinite playfulness, resilience, freedom, everything. You have access to an infinite supply of it. Only sometimes it doesn't look like that. Sometimes we see it, sometimes we don't. And the more you surrender to being laughed, and the more you see what's really there that you're just not always seeing, the deeper your understanding of this becomes, the less sort of the less often you kind of fall for the trick of the mind. You see through the illusion that often trips us up, where we're making trouble for ourselves, where self-sabotage comes in. And progress is the result that occurs when you stop making trouble for yourself. When you get out of your own way, what naturally, automatically occurs is progress. So when this physical form that I relate to as I, me, self, Dave, when I get out of the way, the universe laughs me. And the universe drops wisdom out the word hole. And that's progress.
Amazing. Amazing, for real. I love that. Daily laughing, man. Amazing.
Yeah.
Whoa. That's changing the world each giggle at a time,
Yeah. It's changed me. It's just woken me up so much to what's there that I just wasn't aware of. Yeah. There's so many
things. Do you
feel
like as soon as something happens about it?
No, like not always.
Are you laughing instead of screaming?
I do have a lot of stories like that. Yeah, actually, but not always, because sometimes I don't see it right away. But I don't hold on to a lot of stuff for very long.
Yeah, where they're like, we're gonna laugh about this later. We might as well just laugh about it now.
Yeah, totally.
Save you the trouble of going through stress.
Yeah.
Jump to the joy.
So just for the sake of people who are watching and have watched this whole thing, you mentioned Spotify. Is that the best place for people to find your music?
So I have one song released. By Christmas, I'll have 2, and by the new year, I'll have 3. And they're gonna be. So I made a music video that's on my YouTube channel that has like some of my just silly workouts and hi-fi yogas and some of my talks about nutrition and stuff. That's on my YouTube, and that's just KOL Wannigman. And then Spotify is KomicKOL. And so you could just search for it, or you could just put KomicKOL without the backwards K, and it might be easier to find it that way. I think it's on YouTube Music, Apple Music, it's on all the platforms. I did DistroKid, so it just distributes it to everywhere at once. iTunes, you could find it. So it just depends on if you want to buy it, if you want to listen to it, if you want to watch the video. But also, like, my Instagram has kind of been where I'm communicating with people, and that's KDubs, the number 4 love, KDubs for love, DUBS, the number 4, the word love. And so I have an Instagram that people have been coming, because I actually did a hypnotherapy session. Me and this woman shared a birthday, and we went to this kind of a transformational event, and we were both there on our birthdays, and she intended it to be on her birthday, but I didn't want it to be on my birthday because I wanted to do other things. And but it so happened we were there, and she was actually going back to San Diego, so I got to catch a ride so Taylor didn't have to drive out and pick me up. And she had like 1 million TikTok followers, and so we did a hypnosis session, half off, for her to post videos. And I ended up getting a bunch of people reach out to me on Instagram, and so I started like my hypnotherapy really like took off a whole nother like another like run of hypnotherapy clients, which is great because
Yeah.
it's just amazing. I love the fulfillingness of just like going in and exploring someone else's subconscious and being there with them, and holding the flashlight for them. And then so I think the next step for me, marketing, it's the worst thing that I'm at, is like the technology and the social media and the marketing and all that. So I think the next logical step for me is to make a hypnotherapy TikTok page that has links to all the stuff. Because right now my TikTok is under KomicKOL, but I have like just some of the music stuff. And so I'm trying to like do an overhaul of all that and really make it easy for people. But I also have this like fitness empire called Lifeology training that I'm trying to launch, and that's all on my Facebook. And so I'm a little bit scattered, and eventually I'm going to try to find like some teenager who's for the mission, and like trade some sessions of something in exchange for like helping me like brand and market and combine it all together and have links and all the stuff that you're probably really good at by now, because you were good at it when I knew.
Well, I wish that it felt like that part was easy. Thank you. I wish that part felt as easy to me as the laughing. I mean,
it's true about laughter, it's true about life.
Yeah, so I have to I can allow it to be easy, and what seems like it makes it difficult is the same thing that you said. Like, I've got a lot of different things out there, like so Laughter Gym is part of the Principles of Laughter. I've got the Conspiracy of Blessings group on Facebook, which I know you joined a few months back, and that's tied to the Pronoia experimentation pod. And I have a program I do for parents, and like how they can develop this inside out understanding so that they're better equipped and can discover for themselves their best way to help their kids develop emotional intelligence. It's an understanding, right? It's seeing the nature of thought. And so anyway, these are some of the things that I put my energy into, and they're spread out a little bit too. But for anybody who wants to connect with me, it's davebermancoaching.com. And if you don't see something that you're curious about that I've talked about here, you can message me through the website, and we'll take it from there. But yeah, this was so fun. This feels like I've just completed a really great workout. Like high intensity, high impact, just like sharing energy with you, Cole. That's what it feels like. And it always has, like, ever since I first knew you, like, yeah. And it's not draining, it's uplifting, like I'm not worn out, like now I need a shower and a nap. It's like, now like I'm ready to play and create new things,
Yeah, I love that, bro. That's such good feedback. That's so fun. I feel that too.
Yeah,
I feel that too, definitely. It's very light and uplifting, and it flashed by. I can't believe a whole hour went already.
Yeah, I think it's been well over an hour now, but I'm not exactly sure. But in any case, we'll put we'll put this out there, and just let people enjoy and see what happens. I have no attachment to any particular ripple effect that may come from this, other than now kind of knowing a little bit more about how to kind of follow your work, and hopefully stay in touch more regularly with you. I think you're a person I would like to just engage with more regularly as we once did.
I agree. This was really nice. I really appreciate you being the spark for this. This is great.
Yeah, you're welcome, and thank you for agreeing to just go with the flow. And you know, we didn't prepare or plan anything, and it turned out as perfectly as I could have hoped.
Yeah, I like that. It's just improv together. We're freestyling, brother.
Yeah.
Brother Dave.
All right, man. So I'm gonna call it good here with the recording.
Okay.
Thanks for watching, everybody, or anybody.
Love and light.